This hazardous weather outlook is for west central and southwest Florida. Day 1, today and tonight. No hazardous weather is expected at this time. Days 2 through 7, Thursday through Tuesday. No hazardous weather is expected at this time. Spotter information statement. Spotter activation will not be needed today.
The current time is 12:51 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
These are the midnight observations for the local area on Thursday, April 2nd. At Fort Myers Pagefield, it was clear. The temperature was 69 degrees, the dew point 64, and the relative humidity 84%. The wind was north at 3 miles an hour. The pressure was 30.14 inches and falling. At Punta Gorda, it was clear. The temperature was 65 degrees, the dew point 63, and the relative humidity 93%. The wind was north at 3 miles an hour. The pressure was 30.17 inches and rising. It was clear, with a temperature of 68 at Southwest International, 70 at Tampa International, and 66 at St. Pete Clearwater Airport. Under clear skies, Sarasota Bradenton Airport reported 64, Naples reported 68, and Key West reported 74. It was partly cloudy, with a temperature of 70 at Orlando, 72 at West Palm Beach, and 72 at Miami. At Venice Municipal Airport, it was fair, with a temperature of 70. Marine reports along the coast and offshore buoys. 100 miles west of Bayport, winds were from the southwest at 4 knots. Sea temperature 69 degrees. Air temperature 70. Wave height 1 foot. Wave period 4 seconds. 210 miles west of Captiva, winds were from southeast at 10 knots. Sea temperature 74 degrees. Air temperature 72. Wave height 2 feet. Wave period 6 seconds.
Now for the official National Weather Service forecast for the WXK83 listening area for the following counties in Florida: DeSoto, Charlotte, and Lee, including the cities of Arcadia, Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Cape Coral, and Fort Myers. Tonight, mostly clear. Patchy fog after midnight. Lows around 60. Northwest winds around 5 miles an hour, shifting to the north after midnight. Thursday, partly cloudy. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Highs in the mid-80s. Northeast winds around 5 miles an hour, shifting to the south in the afternoon. Chance of rain 20%. Thursday night, partly cloudy until midnight, then clearing. Lows in the mid-60s. Southeast winds around 5 miles an hour. Friday, mostly sunny. Highs in the mid-80s. Southeast winds around 5 miles an hour, shifting to the south in the afternoon. Friday night, mostly clear. Lows in the mid-60s. Light winds. Saturday, mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 80s. Saturday night, mostly clear in the evening, then becoming partly cloudy. Lows in the mid-60s. And now the extended forecast for the radio listening area. Sunday through Tuesday night, partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. Highs in the mid-80s. Lows in the upper 60s. Chance of rain 20%. Wednesday, partly cloudy. Highs in the mid-80s. Synopsis: mild and pleasant springtime weather will continue, as high pressure ridging across Florida will be reinforced from the north during the rest of the week. For the weekend, a cold front will settle south over the state, but only bring a few showers and increasing winds.
Your coastal waters forecast for the WXK83 listening area for the following marine location: Charlotte Harbor. Issued at 10:01 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Rest of tonight, northwest winds around 5 knots, then becoming north after midnight. Day and inland waters smooth. Thursday, northeast winds around 5 knots, then becoming southeast around 10 knots in the afternoon. Day and inland waters a light chop. Thursday night, west winds around 10 knots, then becoming east around 5 knots after midnight. Day and inland waters a light chop. Friday, southeast winds around 5 knots, then becoming south in the afternoon. Day and inland waters smooth. Friday night, west winds around 5 knots in the evening, then becoming variable less than 5 knots. Day and inland waters smooth. Saturday, north winds around 10 knots, then becoming northwest in the afternoon. Day and inland waters a light chop. Saturday night, northwest winds around 10 knots then becoming northeast around 15 knots after midnight. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. Sunday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers. Sunday night, east winds 10 to 15 knots diminishing to 5 to 10 knots after midnight. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers in the evening. Monday, east winds around 10 knots. Bay and inland waters a light chop. A slight chance of showers. Your coastal waters forecast for the WXK83 listening area for the following marine location. Coastal waters from Bonita Beach to Englewood out 20 nautical miles. Issued at 10:01 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Rest of tonight, northwest winds around 5 knots then becoming north around 10 knots after midnight. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters a light chop. Thursday, northeast winds around 10 knots then becoming west in the afternoon. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters a light chop. Thursday night, northwest winds around 10 knots then becoming east around 5 knots after midnight. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters a light chop. Friday, southeast winds around 10 knots then becoming south around 5 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters a light chop. Friday night, west winds around 5 knots in the evening then becoming variable less than 5 knots. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters smooth. Saturday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots then becoming northwest 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 feet or less. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. Saturday night, north winds 10 to 15 knots then becoming northeast after midnight. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. Sunday, northeast winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. Sunday night, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. Monday, east winds 10 to 15 knots then becoming southeast 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Bay and inland waters a moderate chop. A slight chance of showers in the afternoon. Your coastal waters forecast for the WXK83 listening area for the following marine location. Coastal waters from Bonita Beach to Englewood out 20 to 60 nautical miles. Issued at 10:01 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Rest of tonight, northwest winds around 5 knots then becoming north around 10 knots after midnight. Seas 2 feet or less. Thursday, northeast winds around 10 knots. Seas 2 feet or less. Thursday night, north winds around 5 knots then becoming east around 10 knots after midnight. Seas 2 feet or less. Friday, southeast winds around 10 knots. Seas 2 feet. Friday night, southwest winds around 5 knots then becoming northeast after midnight. Seas 2 feet. Saturday, northeast winds around 10 knots. Seas 2 feet or less. Saturday night, north winds 10 to 15 knots then becoming northeast around 20 knots after midnight. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Sunday, northeast winds around 20 knots then becoming east around 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 3 to 5 feet. Sunday night, east winds 10 to 15 knots. Seas 2 to 3 feet. Monday, east winds 10 to 15 knots diminishing to 5 to 10 knots in the afternoon. Seas 2 to 3 feet.
At Fort Myers Beach, high tide at 12:35 a.m. Low tide at 6:21 a.m. High tide at 12:59 p.m. Low tide at 6:42 p.m.
This is NOAA Weather Radio WXK83, the voice of the National Weather Service, broadcasting at a frequency of 162.475 megahertz. The tower for WXK83 is located near Fort Myers, in Lee County, and serves Southwest Florida, with programming originating from the National Weather Service office in Rutkin. This station provides warning alerts for Lee, Charlotte, DeSoto, Glad, Canterbury, and Collier counties.
At Punta Gorda, high tide at 2:51 a.m. Low tide at 9:22 a.m. High tide at 3:15 p.m. Low tide at 9:43 p.m.